Hi guys, we need to get back to our teaching on the tabernacle and the whole thing of the blood sacrifice. Remember, I'm giving you a picture from last time. I'm trying an overall picture of the whole sacrificial system. And now we're going to get back into this sharing on the tabernacle from last time. So God instructs Moses to build a tabernacle. It's a kind of a really fancy tent. You can look at all the details in Exodus when it's got very, very detailed expressions of what exactly must go into the tent, how it's made, and so on. So this was a picture of the tabernacle in the wilderness. And I'm going to show you a floor plan in a minute, but you'll see some. I want to show you a few important things here. You'll see it's fenced off for starters. That means it's only for God's people. Only God's people can enter that area. On the left, you'll see tables with the priests. That was the tables of sacrifice. This was what they call the bronze laver. I'll show you that in a minute on the map. And that is where the washings took place. The priests would do washing and cleansing. And this here was the holy place. And then within the holy place, there was the Holy of Holies. So here's the plan of the tabernacle. So you have the door. As I said, only God's people can enter this area. It's a holy place. It's a holy space, and it's only for God's people. You have to be part of God's covenant community to come through that door. This is the altar of burnt offering. This is where the animals that had been slaughtered would be placed on this altar and sacrificed to God. And the aroma of the sacrifice would rise up to God, and it would make atonement for sins. This was called the bronze laver. I'll show you a picture of these things in a while. And the bronze laver was this massive basin, this massive bronze basin for water, which was a symbol of cleansing as they are preparing to come into the holy place. There was the table of showbread. That was the manna from heaven. It's a symbol of God being the bread of life. And there's the golden lampstand. And that is a picture of God as the light of the world. Remember, God led them through the wilderness with a pillar of fire at night. And so the golden lampstand represents the light of God and the guidance of God. Then we have the holy place, and that is only for priests. The other people couldn't come in. It had to be those who are now set aside by God as priests. And you may know that was only the tribe of Levi. First of all, it started with Aaron as the first high priest, and then as the priesthood was established, it was established out of one tribe only. You couldn't become a priest. You had to be born a priest in the tribe of Levi. Then there was the curtain over here, and this is the Holy of Holies. And that only the high priest could go behind that curtain once a year to place the blood sacrifice on the mercy seat. And I'll show you that in a moment. I'll go through that. And that is known as Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. That is the one day in the year which the Jews still celebrate today, when the high priest would go in on behalf of the people, and they would be forgiven, and their sins would be atoned for. And only he could enter. And even when he entered, it was with fear and trembling. He used to have dry pomegranates on the base of his garments. He had these massive priestly garments, and they would rattle. He'll shuffle around, rattle, and they would know that he was still alive, because you could not see God and live. That's how it was. And so it was a most holy place. It was the place where God's presence was manifested. And it was in there that they had the Ark of the Covenant, and I'll go through that with you in a while. The altar of incense in the holy place, I'll show you that as well in a minute. And then on the Ark of the Covenant was the mercy seat. And that's the veil I was talking about. So here's the altar of sacrifice where the animals were placed, and the aroma would go up to God as a pleasing sacrifice. The bronze laver, as I said, is that massive basin for cleansing and washing. And then there's the altar of incense, and that is in the holy place. And that is a symbol of worship, and it's a symbol of prayer. Interesting that John the Apostle, in his revelation, at the end of the Bible, he talks about the prayers of the saints going up as a sweet aroma. There's a scripture in Psalm 141. It says, "Let my prayer be counted as incense before you, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice." And so can you begin to see all of these things at such deep significance? The sacrificial offering, the cleansing and the washing, and getting prepared to be in the presence of God, the incense of prayers and worship rising up to God as a physical manifestation of this aroma. You can imagine as this aroma went up, even the people outside of the holy place, that they would know that we're offering worship, and our praises are going up to the Most High God. Then in the Holy of Holies was the Ark of the Covenant and the mercy seat. Now, inside, the poles would be for carrying the Ark, because remember, there are people on the move, so they would always be carrying the Ark with them. They would be literally carrying the presence of God. So you have this gold overlaid chest. Inside the chest, you'd have the tablets of the law that God gave to Moses on Sinai. You'd have Aaron's rod that budded miraculously, and you'd have manna, the symbol of God's life. Now, these two cherubim, these two angels, symbolically protected the presence of God. So what you're seeing here for the Jewish people was something absolutely holy. You may know of the time when the ark was being moved, and the men carrying the ark stumbled, and Uzzah put his hand out to steady the ark, and he touched the ark and he was struck dead immediately. So this is the presence of God. This is his manifestation of himself. So it was extremely important. That is why only the priest could go into the Holy of Holies, because that is where the presence of God was. Now bear this in mind, because we're going to see how this correlates and parallels perfectly in the life of Jesus. Then on top of the ark is the mercy seat. And maybe it's a good opportunity to just stop for a minute and sorry, I'll go on. I'll come back to it, because that's very critical to the whole understanding of the cross of Jesus Christ. So here's the process of the sacrifice in the tabernacle. We have the holy place only for priests. We've got the altar of incense, which is offering of worship and of prayer. And then you've got the most holy place behind the curtain, and only the holy priest can go in. And then you've got the Ark of the Covenant, the cherubim, and that is the very presence of God. And then you've got the mercy seat. All in all, this is a picture of the life of faith of God's people. Everything that they believed was contained in this picture, in this living form of their life together. Now I want to show you. So this is the plan of the tabernacle, and later Solomon's temple, and it was exactly the same process, just much more vivid, much more spectacular in the temple itself. let me quickly just, so the process, the animal gets sacrificed, there's the cleansing and the washing, and then the high priest would take the sacrifice, and what he would do, and this is very critical to understand this, he would place the blood on the mercy seat. And this is where we get the word propitiation from. Propitiation means appeasing of anger. A very simple way to understand propitiation. Let's take a silly little example. So if I upset my wife and I bring her a box of chocolates or a beautiful bunch of flowers, what am I doing? I am bringing something to quieten any anger or hostility. I know it's maybe a silly picture, but that's what it is. So now think of this. God is absolutely angry, not with man, he's angry with sin, because sin separates him from his people. So when the priest places the blood on the mercy seat, the anger of God dissipates. When God sees the blood, the sacrificial blood on the mercy seat, his anger is turned away. The only problem is, remember, it's in the old covenant, and so they would go on and on and on doing that because the fullness of time had not come. The perfect solution had not yet come. But this is what would happen on the Day of Atonement. When that blood was placed on the mercy seat, God would look upon the blood and his anger would be taken away. And so propitiation was made, and appeasement was made, and man's sin was forgiven. So let's go through this quickly. So here's the correlation. Now watch this. Jesus is the door. He says, I'm the door. He who comes to me will be saved, and he'll go in and out and find pasture. So Jesus perfectly fulfills the doorway. The cross of Christ, the animals were dragged against their will and sacrificed. Jesus comes willingly, and he places his life on the altar, as it were, for us. The laver, the bronze laver here, for sanctification, Jesus was pure, and he comes as this perfect sanctified person on our behalf. There's the candle, the light. Jesus says, I am the light of the world. At the table of showbread, he says, I am the bread of life. Don't you find this amazing that every single thing in the temple, Jesus perfects? The sacrifices of praise is the fruit of our lips, and Jesus was the perfect example of praise. The Bible says God inhabits the praises of his people, and you can look there at Revelation 5:8. It talks about our prayers rising as a sweet aroma. So what happened? What happened with Jesus, and this is very important to grab a hold of. So Jesus comes as the perfect offering. He lays his life down. He's holy. He's totally sanctified. He's perfectly righteous, right? And he gives his life. And when he dies, this curtain gets torn in two. Literally, on the day of the cross, that temple physically got torn. It was an incredible picture of what God had done in the heavenlies. That Jesus, the perfect priest, had laid his life down. His blood was completely pure, and it was not at all contaminated with the bloodline from Adam. And his death breaks this curtain, and his blood appears on the mercy seat. You could see Calvary in a way as the mercy seat. Let me try and bring this to a close. When Jesus rose from the dead, what did he say to Mary? He said, Mary, don't cling to me now, for I must go to my Father and your Father. but go to my disciples and tell them that I've risen. So Jesus, straight after his resurrection, he went straight to his Father in heaven and showed himself. It's like he rose immediately and said, Father, the perfect sacrifice has been made as the sacrificial lamb, as the lamb that takes away the sin of the world. Here I am. Everything is done. And so Calvary and heaven become the mercy seat. Here's the most wonderful thing. That curtain is broken away. This Holy of Holies here is a picture of how Jesus has broken through. So we don't need a priest to stand on our behalf. In that sense, Jesus is our priest. He's our perfect high priest. He ever lives to make intercession for us. But he's broken through that curtain. And so this is the priesthood of believers here. Anyone who puts their faith in Jesus Christ, they are born anew. They've been cleansed by the blood of Christ. The blood of Christ has taken all the anger of God away. God will never, never be angry with us again. And he has opened up a way for us to live in the Holy of Holies, to live in the presence of God. That's the miracle of the cross. So I hope this gives you a picture, a wonderful picture of how from Abraham right through to Jesus, there's this sacrificial system, and it's all about the blood. And then Jesus comes with his unblemished blood, his perfect blood, and this innocent life, this man who's completely righteous, and he lays his life down as the Lamb of God, and he becomes the perfect sacrifice. When you read Hebrews in the New Testament, every single thing that the Hebrews understood about their faith, Jesus has perfectly perfected and fulfilled in every fine detail. And so, friends, that's the power of the cross. And we're going to go over the next few sessions. We're going to massage this in. We're going to see the wonder of the cross of Jesus Christ. I hope you found this beneficial, and we certainly look forward to next time. And I just really hope that you are growing in your faith, growing in understanding the person of Jesus, understanding his wonderful work, that it's a perfect work. It never has to be repeated. And may he continue to give us more and more revelation. Thanks for sharing. God bless you.